I am Elias. I want to speak to you about a love that moves in the shadows, a presence that stands behind you when you are convinced you are completely alone. There are moments in your life that you remember as narrow escapes, strange turns, unexplained hesitations. You tell yourself it was coincidence, instinct, good luck, a sudden change of mind. Perhaps you are right in part. But there is more. There is a mother who walks just one step behind your story. A woman robed in silence who has watched you since before you knew her name. And she has been protecting you in ways you will only fully understand when all the veils are lifted. There is a mystery in the way Mary protects you. She rarely breaks into your life with thunder or visible miracles. She does not insist on being seen or congratulated. Her love is too pure to demand spectacle. Instead, she steps quietly into the fault lines of your days, into the hours when you are tired or angry or tempted or numb. And she leans her heart between you and the abyss. Most of the time you feel only the faintest trace of it. A sudden calm, a small hesitation, a softening of anger that you cannot quite explain. You do not hear her voice. Yet something within you shifts just enough to change the outcome of a choice. Think of the times when you were close to doing something that would have wounded you deeply, perhaps for years. A destructive word on your tongue, a step into a relationship that would have broken you, a surrender to despair that would have dragged your soul into darkness. The pull toward that choice felt heavy, almost inevitable. Then, somehow, there was a pause. A message arrived. A memory surfaced. A friend appeared. A line from a prayer you had forgotten floated up in your mind like a leaf on water. The pressure loosened just enough for you to step back. In that small gap, Mary was there. Not as an intrusive force that overrides your freedom, but as a gentle hand that steadies your shoulder when the ground is crumbling beneath you. Mary protects you in temptation by standing between your weakness and the voice that wants to destroy you. She does not erase the struggle, because she knows that real love cannot grow without freedom. And freedom is always vulnerable. So, she does not smother your choices. She stands nearby, watching, interceding, bending the arc of circumstances so that grace has more space to breathe. She brings to your mind quiet images and memories that remind you who you truly are, not what the temptation is telling you. She reminds you of times you have been forgiven, of the face of Christ looking at you with mercy, of the small joys that would be shattered by a moment of surrender. These reminders are often so soft that you think they are just your own thoughts. Yet, in the hidden depths of your soul, her maternal voice has whispered them into being. At other times, her protection takes the form of an unexplainable inner unrest. You stand at a crossroads, facing a choice that looks harmless or even attractive. On the surface, everything seems good, or at least neutral. Yet something in you refuses to be at peace. You try to reason it away, to insist that you are overreacting, that you need to be bolder or less scrupulous, that everyone else would make this choice without hesitation. Still, the unease remains. It is not the fear that comes from insecurity. It is quieter, more persistent, like a small bell ringing in a distant room of your heart. If you listen, you will sense that this unrest is not there to torment you, but to protect you. Mary has seen what you cannot see. She has glimpsed the long road that stretches beyond this decision. And she is gently tugging at your sleeve, urging you not to go down a path that will wound you, even if it looks bright at the beginning. Her protection is present from the earliest days, long before your mind could form prayers. When you were a child, overwhelmed by sights and sounds too big for your small heart, Mary stood watch over your vulnerability. When you woke in the night, frightened by shadows on the wall, when harsh voices or slammed doors sent fear through your body. She drew close to the cradle of your soul. Perhaps someone placed an image of her by your bed. Perhaps not. Either way, she covered you with a tenderness you could not yet understand. Many adults who look back on difficult childhoods still bear a strange, stubborn sense that somehow they were carried through, that something soft and strong protected them from being completely broken. That something has a face, and it is her face, for the child who is not cherished as they should be. Her protection becomes a shield around their identity. She cannot always prevent the wounds others inflict, but she fights fiercely to preserve the knowledge that they are still lovable, still precious, still wanted. She wraps their truest self in her mantle so that lies spoken over them do not fully penetrate. Years later, when that child grows into an adult and begins to heal, they will find within themselves a small, uncrushed place, a place that still believes in goodness and longs for God. That spark survives because she guarded it. As you enter the confusing years of youth, when the world opens like a storm around you, Mary's protection takes on new forms. There is the allure of belonging, the hunger to be seen and admired, the intoxication of new freedoms. Underneath, there is also fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of being left behind. In these swirling currents, Mary does not shout commands from the shoreline. She steps into the water beside you. She knows the pain of misunderstanding, of not being believed, of having to carry a hidden mystery in your heart. She guides you, not by controlling you, but by nudging your desires closer to truth. When you stand at the edge of decisions about love, about your body, about your future, she whispers into the depths of your conscience. She reminds you that you are not an object to be consumed, but a heart designed to give and receive real love. Sometimes her protection is the feeling that a certain party, a certain group, a certain situation is wrong for you in a way you cannot fully explain. Sometimes it is the strength to say no when everyone else is saying yes. Sometimes it is the simple impulse to go home a little earlier than planned, which pulls you away from hidden dangers you never see. You may never know what she saved you from. You will simply know that you woke the next morning with your dignity still intact. Mary's protection in emotional storms is as gentle as it is tenacious. There are nights when grief or loneliness or rejection feels like a weight on your chest. When every breath hurts and every thought circles back to the same pain, you lie awake, staring into the darkness, wondering if anyone in heaven or on earth sees you at all. Prayer feels impossible. Words turn to dust in your mouth. You tell yourself that no one can understand this particular ache inside you. In that moment, Mary is beside your bed. She is not far away in distant glory. She is sitting in the dark with you, holding the pieces of your heart in her hands. She remembers what it was to stand beneath a cross and watch the life of her son ebb away. She knows the silence of a tomb and the emptiness of loss. She does not always change your circumstances immediately, but she refuses to let your pain be meaningless. Her presence does not remove the night, but it keeps the night from swallowing you whole. Often her protection in those hours does not even feel like comfort. Sometimes it feels like the strange fact that you are still here, that despite the drowning sense of sorrow, you have not been completely submerged. The next morning you rise, still tired, still hurting, but somehow not crushed. You move through your day on legs that feel like glass, and yet they do not shatter. You make a small act of kindness to someone else that surprises you. You find yourself drawn to light a candle in a church, or to sit in silence for a few minutes before an image of her, or to whisper a simple greeting. You did not plan these things. Mary has taken your numbness and your exhaustion and quietly woven into them a thread of perseverance. She is shielding the flame of your hope with her cupped hands, so that the storms of emotion do not extinguish it. There is another kind of darkness, one that is perhaps even more dangerous than emotional pain. It is spiritual dryness, that long stretch of the soul's journey when God seems absent, when prayer feels like talking into an empty room. You go to the place where you used to feel grace, and there is only dust. You kneel, and your mind wanders. You try to read, and every word falls flat. You wonder if you have somehow lost faith, or if you were merely fooling yourself in earlier times of fervor. In this desert, Mary protects you in a way that you will not fully appreciate until later. She stands beside you in the silence, offering her own unwavering yes as a shelter over your fragile yes. When you feel nothing in prayer but still show up, when you drag yourself to the sacraments despite apathy, when you whisper small acts of faith through clenched teeth, she is the one who steadies that movement. She remembers Nazareth's hidden years, silent decades when there were no crowds, no miracles, no dramatic revelations, only the daily routine of ordinary life with God made flesh at her side. She knows the value of perseverance without consolation. She protects your soul from a subtle pride that would only love God for his gifts, not for himself. She does this by quietly teaching you to be faithful in the dark, to let your love ripen in the soil of apparent abandonment. You will look back one day and realize that the seasons when you thought you were alone were the times when she was closest, precisely because you most needed her protection then. Mary also shields you from dangers that you do not even see as dangers at the time. There are friendships that seem harmless, ideologies that appear enlightened, habits that look like self-care but slowly erode your spiritual strength. She does not always tear these away from you in dramatic fashion. More often, she allows you to see tiny cracks in them, small inconsistencies that trouble you, a remark that reveals a darker side of a person you were idealizing, a line in a book that reduces the sacred to something cold and shallow, a routine that once brought you peace but now leaves you empty. In these moments of dawning dissatisfaction, her protection is at work. She is gently awakening your discernment, inviting you to ask deeper questions about what truly leads you to God and what slowly draws you away. Sometimes her protection comes through other people's words and actions in ways that they themselves do not fully understand. A stranger offers you a kind word at the exact moment you were about to give up. A friend insists that you accompany them to a place of prayer when you had decided to stay home. A family member unexpectedly shares a story of their own conversion or healing, and something in it speaks directly to your hidden fears. These people are not puppets. They are simply hearts that Mary has gently nudged, thoughts she has delicately rearranged, so that you receive, at just the right time, the encouragement or correction you need. You think it is coincidence. She knows it is her Son answering her intercession for you. She guards not only those who know her, but also those who have never really thought of her at all. There are souls who are far from faith, who have rejected God or never learned his name, whose lives are tangled in choices and wounds that seem utterly removed from anything holy. Yet even there, Mary's protection extends. When she stood at the foot of the cross, her Son entrusted the entire human race to her heart. She does not confine her care to the visibly devout. She walks the streets of cities, enters the rooms of hospitals, sits on the edge of beds in small apartments, stands beside those who are ashamed to enter a church, and she guards them all with maternal watchfulness. For someone who does not believe, her protection may appear as a sudden revulsion against an act of cruelty they were about to commit, or as an unexplained surge of compassion for a stranger. It might take the shape of a near accident that somehow does not happen, a substance they did not take, a weapon they did not use. It may be as simple as the memory of a prayer learned in childhood that surfaces unexpectedly when they are in danger. She does not force them to accept grace. She simply keeps the door of mercy from slamming shut in front of them. She ensures that even those who run from God never quite manage to outrun the possibility of turning back. Mary is especially vigilant over the innocent and the deeply wounded. Children, in particular, are precious to her. When a child cries alone in a room where no one hears, she hears. When a child is frightened by anger in the home or by a silence charged with unspoken tension, she wraps them in a tenderness they may not be able to articulate, but which they will carry as a hidden resilience into later life. Many people who grow up through chaos and suffering still bear within them a quiet conviction that somehow they were not entirely abandoned. That inexplicable sense of having been held up, of having been allowed to survive, is often a trace of her protection. For those who have been deeply wounded by betrayal, abuse, or rejection, her protection takes on a particular intensity. She does not erase the past, but she stands guard over the core of their identity, fighting against the lie that they are worthless, dirty, or unlovable. She whispers into their battered hearts that they remain, despite everything, beloved children of God. She arranges encounters with people who treat them with unexpected dignity, who reflect even a small portion of the kindness she longs to give them directly. She protects their capacity to trust from being completely annihilated, so that one day, when healing is possible, they will be able to reopen their hearts just enough to let grace enter. There are also seasons when Mary's protection is directed not just at your soul, but at the fragile web of relationships that surround you. She knows that you do not live alone, that your salvation is interwoven with others. When misunderstandings arise between you and someone you love, when words are misheard and motives misjudged, she often moves in the quiet spaces between hearts. She inspires you to send a message you might not have sent, to apologize first, to ask a question instead of assuming. She softens the stiffness in your tone. She gives you patience to listen an extra few minutes. In these small, hidden efforts, she is guarding the bonds that keep loneliness from enclosing you completely. Mary's protection extends even into the realm of your thoughts. There are patterns of thinking that slowly poison the soul. Stories you tell yourself about yourself that shrink your capacity to receive love. You call yourself a failure, a burden, an imposter, unworthy of joy. These phrases repeat in the mind until they carve deep grooves. Mary enters this inner landscape with great delicacy. She does not argue loudly with your self-hatred. She plants instead quiet counterwords, simple truths that at first feel unbelievable. You are loved. You are seen. You are forgiven. She repeats them gently over time, often through scripture, through a line in a homily, through the comment of a friend, through the unexpected beauty of a sunrise that your heart receives as a personal gift. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, these truths begin to erode the lies, and in that erosion, her protection is at work. In times of severe doubt, when your mind is clouded by questions that seem to have no answers, Mary's protection takes on a different color. She is not afraid of your questions. She knows that a faith never tested can remain shallow, but she also knows that doubt can be twisted into despair if it is cut off from love. So when you wrestle with realities you cannot reconcile, with suffering that seems unjust, with silence that feels cruel, she protects you from losing contact with the living person of Christ. Even if you are furious, even if you avoid prayer, she keeps a thin filament of connection alive. Perhaps it is the small habit of making the sign of the cross before sleep, a habit you do not even think about anymore. Perhaps it is the way you still find yourself lighting a candle in her honor on a feast day, out of a sense of tradition rather than conviction. These small gestures keep your doubt within a relationship rather than letting it drift into cold abstraction. Within that relationship, answers can slowly mature. Outside of it, questions harden into walls. There are moments when Mary's protection becomes almost warrior-like. Spiritual battles are real, even if they are invisible. There are assaults on your mind and heart that cannot be explained only in psychological terms. Voices of accusation that are too relentless. Sudden waves of hopelessness that seem disproportionate to your circumstances. Urges towards self-destruction that feel foreign to your true self. In these battles, Mary fights for you with a ferocity that is hidden beneath her gentleness. She stands between you and the forces that hate your soul, presenting herself as a barrier they cannot simply brush aside. When you invoke her name in such moments, when you cling to her with even the smallest prayer, you allow her to shield you more openly. But even when you do not call, she continues to intercede. She presents your misery before the heart of her Son, pleading for mercy, for protection. She surrounds you with invisible help, with angels and inspirations and opportunities to step away from the edge. Many who have come back from the brink of despair speak of a mysterious intervention, a sudden interruption that prevented the worst from happening. Behind that interruption, often, stands Mary's determined love. Her protection is not limited to dramatic crises. She also keeps watch over the ordinary hours, the gray days when nothing much seems to happen. In those times, her work is to preserve your capacity for wonder and gratitude. She shields you from a slow, corrosive cynicism that would make you blind to beauty. She brings small joys into your path. A shaft of light through a window, a song that softens your mood, a child's laughter, the taste of simple food shared in peace, and she nudges your heart to receive them as gifts instead of dismissing them as nothing. This quiet strengthening of the soul is a form of protection as vital as rescue from danger, because it makes you more resilient when storms do arrive. In seasons when you carry the responsibilities of others, when you are a parent, a caregiver, a friend who holds many stories, Mary protects not only you but those entrusted to you through your yes. She pours into your heart a hidden strength to keep loving when you are exhausted, to keep forgiving when you are hurt, to keep hoping when those around you are drowning in discouragement. She protects you from collapsing under the weight of what you cannot fix by reminding you, in subtle ways, that you are not the savior. She gently shifts your gaze from your own limits to the endless mercy of God, allowing you to continue to be a channel of care without trying to be the source. She also protects your capacity for silence in a world that fears it. Constant noise can drown out the delicate movements of grace. Mary teaches you to treasure small moments of stillness, to sit quietly even for a short time with your heart open. In those spaces, she can work more freely. She can place into your soul intuitions and consolations that you might miss amid relentless distraction. By guarding these little islands of silence, she protects you from being carried entirely away by the current of an anxious, hurried age. As you grow older, Mary's way of protecting you also matures. In youth, her interventions may feel more like sudden mercies, narrow escapes, unexpected turns. Later, they take on the character of long-term guidance. She protects not only your life, but your vocation, your deepest calling. She helps you to let go of illusions about yourself and about God. She gently removes false paths, even when it hurts, so that you do not waste too many years chasing shadows. She allows certain plans to fail, not because she delights in your disappointment, but because she sees that they would have limited you, enclosing you in a version of your life that had no room for the fullness of love you are meant to live. There are midlife crossroads where you may feel that your story has stalled, where dreams have not come to pass, and responsibilities press in from every side. In these seasons, the temptation is to escape, to abandon your commitments, to chase a fantasy of starting over without cost. Mary's protection in such times often appears as a quiet but firm reminder of the value of fidelity. She brings to mind the faces of those who depend on you, the promises you have made, the deeper joy that lies beyond temporary restlessness. She may allow you to feel the weight of your choices more acutely, not to crush you, but to anchor you in a mature love that can withstand the passing storms of emotion. In helping you remain faithful, she is protecting both your heart and the hearts entrusted to you. In old age, when your body weakens and your circle of activity shrinks, her protection becomes almost like the way a mother cares for a sleeping child. She guards your memory, helping you to see your life not as a random scattering of events, but as a story threaded through with grace. She protects you from bitterness by bringing to mind moments of kindness you received, people who loved you, times when you were guided even when you did not ask. She intercedes for a peaceful death, for the grace of final trust. Many people who have been far from faith for decades find themselves turning, at the end, toward her with surprising tenderness. The simple prayers of childhood return to their lips. The mother they did not think they knew reveals that she has known them all along. Even in the final hours, when speech falters and consciousness comes and goes, Mary's protection does not weaken. She is there in the faint gesture of a hand that seeks a crucifix, in the slight movement of lips forming a prayer that no one else can hear, in the last look of trust that passes between a dying person and those at their bedside. She stands at the threshold between this life and the next, not to judge, but to accompany. She knows the path, for she has walked it in faith, trusting in the promise of resurrection even as she laid her son in the tomb. Now she walks it with you, protecting you from final fear, covering you with her mantle as you step into the light fully for the first time. I tell you these things because I have seen, in my own journey and in the stories of countless souls, how Mary's protection has been woven into places where no one would have thought to look. She has kept people from accidents by the smallest delays. She has prevented cruel words from being spoken by catching them in the net of a sudden recollection. She has brought prodigals home through chains of events so intricate that no mere human planning could have arranged them. She has stood near hospital beds when doctors could do no more, and quietly obtained the grace of reconciliation for someone who had been away from God for years. She has inspired confessions that seemed impossible, reconciled friends who thought their relationship finished, drawn tired hearts back to prayer with a single unexpected tear. And in each case, she has stepped back into silence the moment the danger passed, content to let others receive the gratitude. If you look back over your own life with a quiet and honest heart, you may begin to see traces of her presence that you had not recognized before. A moment when you were shielded, though you did not deserve it. A path you did not take, though you wanted to. A strength you found that you are certain did not come from you. A forgiveness you managed to offer against all odds. A peace that descended on you in a hospital corridor or at a graveside. A peace that made no sense and yet held you together. Perhaps even now, as you listen, memories are surfacing, small lights scattered across your past. Do not dismiss them. Let them speak. Let them tell you that you have not been walking alone. Mary's protection is not a prize for the perfect. It is a gift for the weak, the wounded, the confused, those who know they cannot save themselves, and even those who do not yet know it. She watches over you when you are close to God and when you are far away, when you remember her and when you forget her, when you run to her and when you run from everything holy. Her love does not depend on your constancy. It flows from the constancy of God's own heart, reflected in hers. I am Elias, and I tell you this as one who has walked both in light and in shadow. There were times I thought I had reached the end of my own strength, when my faith felt like a thin thread stretched over an abyss. Yet again and again, I found that the thread did not break. I would learn later that it was not just my hand holding on. Another hand was wrapped around mine, slender and strong, marked not by nails but by an unbroken motherhood. That hand was Mary's. If you wish to live under her protection more consciously, you do not need complicated devotions or elaborate words. You need only to turn your heart toward her with trust, to say in your own way that you accept her as your mother in the order of grace. Once you do, you will not suddenly see everything she does. Her style will not change. She will remain mostly hidden. But you will begin to notice, gently and gradually, that you are less afraid, less alone, less at the mercy of forces you cannot name. You will start to recognize her fingerprints on the quiet miracles of your daily life. From your first breath to your last, through every joy and every wound, Mary is there, standing a little behind you, a little to the side, close enough to reach you in an instant, humble enough to let you forget she is there, so that your love can be freely given to her Son. She protects you when you deserve it and when you do not, when you ask and when you fail to ask, when you feel her and when you feel nothing at all, in the terror of temptation, in the fog of confusion, in the numbness of grief, in the dryness of prayer, in the noise of success and in the silence of failure, in the quiet of ordinary days and in the threshold of your final hour. She is present with a steady, maternal courage. If there is one thing I desire to leave in your heart, it is this certainty. You are never, for a single moment, outside the circle of her care. Even now, as you listen, she is already interceding for you, already surrounding you with a love that does not need to be recognized to be real. Trust her in your weakness. Trust her in your strength. Trust that in ways far beyond your awareness, she is already shielding, already guiding, already fighting for your soul. And one day, when your earthly journey is complete and you see at last how many dangers were turned aside, how many wounds were bound before they bled too deeply, how many tears were counted and answered, you will look into her eyes and know with unshakable clarity what perhaps now you can only believe, that the mother given to you at the foot of a cross has been protecting you all along, quietly, faithfully, with a love that never needed to be noticed to be victorious.